Milsurp Garage, back with the Remington 550-1. Got some information on this thing. See, I really like the way this went. $150, picked this up at a gun show. I brought it home and just featured it, knowing nothing about it. Just put it up there and showed it. And then did a little research, found out a little bit of odd stuff, took it apart, saw that although it looked clean on the outside, it was absolutely filthy on the inside. And had to like really clean it, but learned a few things. Learned by looking at some videos, some very helpful stuff up there on YouTube, and learned that there's a screw in here that you just cannot ever take off, because if you take it off, it's kind of like it somehow affects the sear. The sear falls off, and it's something that holds the sear up. It's like a spring that holds the sear up, and if you take that off, you have to kind of disassemble the whole trigger mechanism, which is a whole pain in the ass to get it all back together again. And you have to use like pins that hold the pins that hold the whole action together and everything, or hold the sear in place while you replace that stuff, whatever. Just basically a nightmare. And then it gets stripped, and there's this whole thing with it. If you do some poking around on this, you'll see that guys talk about it in the videos, but thank God, like I never touched that. So got lucky that I didn't go too far. You got to be careful. You got to like definitely learn before you go too far. Let's put it that way. So now this thing was filthy. It was clean on the outside, filthy on the inside, and now we have it totally clean, nice and smooth. And what did we learn? We learned that this thing has a very unique feature. And we learned that there are a couple of patents actually written right on here. Let me turn it around. I think it faces this way. So what do we have written on here? We have model 550-1. And right on here we have some patents listed by Williams. It says Williams Patents. Okay, so I looked them up. What do I come up with? Somebody had made a comment about Carbine Williams. It's absolutely true. It's Carbine Williams. It is the guy. So this guy had some movie about him years ago too, and you can do some research just to even learn about this guy. Apparently he was some dude that was a genius at inventing stuff, especially firearm stuff, if not exclusively. I'm not sure. I saw a bunch of patents, but they could have been by somebody else. But if they were his, they're just all kinds of weird stuff, all kinds of patents. But I think his might only be the gun ones. I think there might be another Williams, whatever his first name was. I had it written down somewhere, but here it is, DM Williams. So the main patents that were for this gun were for a chamber. He figured out a way. This basically is what this floating chamber thing is. It's basically, this one was for a machine gun. See, what he figured out, he did this in 1936. You know, machine guns, basically during wartime, you had machine guns that used the same round as the long arms. And they did that on purpose so they wouldn't have to, you're like, oh, that would be easier that you just have one round. However, it didn't really work out that way, because the machine gun rounds had to be so much more powerful than the rifle rounds that it was dangerous to use the machine gun rounds in the rifle. They actually tell you now when you buy Milsurp ammo to be very careful you're not getting machine gun ammo, because if you get ammo that's on belts and stuff like that and you start pulling them out of the belt, that could be dangerous because they're very hot. So he wanted to figure out a way to use just regular ammo and machine guns. And that's how it kind of started, that you'd be like, how do you cycle, the machine guns had like a much bigger, heavier action. How do you cycle? That's why they needed hotter ammo. And he was like, how do I account for that? How could I use both? How could I use that hotter ammo and the regular rifle ammo to operate the same gun? And that's where he kind of did this. This was for a machine gun. And if you read the pictures and you read the text here, you kind of could sort of get it. Then there's this other one here, see, automatic firearm. And this very, very complex. You can see how complex these things really are. This is a real difficult one to just absorb. And then there's another one here that isn't listed on the gun. Those are both from the 30s, like when they would have been putting together this 550. But there's another one where he patented, see how involved that one was? And this one just says firearm. It's not this one either. It's the one right after this. It's this one. Is for, maybe it's this last one here. Hold on. Firearm with movable chamber and sealing sleeve. This was very interesting, and this was 1958. So he started improving with the sealing sleeve and movable chamber. He was way into that, this movable chamber stuff. But let me explain to you exactly what's going on inside this rifle. Luckily, in my Walnut and Steel book by Bill Ward, it's Walnut and Steel 2, I found this 550 here. And he does a lot explaining it here, and this is what's really cool. Let's zoom in here. So this, I can see, if it's going to jump around. Are we going to jump around? Jump around. Oh man, the camera's bad. Oh, is this really happening? Is this my life? Okay. Nice. Okay. Let's get a pointer here. What could I use for a pointer? I had a pointer. Where's my pointer? I don't know where my pointer is. Alright. So, here's right here, drawing number 1. Illustration number 1 is showing. Forget about this one down here for now. Gotta cover that. Don't even look at that one. That one's not to be looked at. Boom. Okay, so over here, we're looking at this right here is the bolt. This is the firing pin. See how it's hitting the edge of the round for rim fire. This right here is the barrel. This is the bore. This is the round, obviously, and this is that piece. It's called the power piston. Power piston, ladies and gentlemen. That's this piece that you saw that was in my hand before, when I was, the last video when I was cleaning this thing. Now you see how the shorts end up with the case ends before this power piston. The power piston sits in the barrel. See that? Now, when this short detonates, the bullet starts traveling down the barrel. You can see here, gases go in behind this piece here and make the surface area that presses against the bolt larger, so it pushes it back harder and further. You understand? It shows over here, then it retracts back Well, it doesn't come out that far. It only comes out to there. It stops. And there's the extractor pulling the case out. And then when the bolt closes again, it pushes the power piston back into place. And here's the bullet exiting the barrel. And it shows that if you're using long rifle, it doesn't need that extra surface area to push on. So the long rifle round covers that gap. The bullet's down here, and it's just sealed, so it never moves that piston, that power piston. You see, so it's only the only thing pressing on the bolt is the back of the case here, pushing backwards, because it's a blowback action, you know. So it's kind of like fluid dynamics and air, and these like type of all these dynamics with like air and explosions and fluid and liquid and like hydrodynamics and oil for hydraulics and stuff like that. They're all very similar, and this is basically you're making a larger area that's getting pushed on here, so it's going to push harder and further. And that's how it's able to cycle the shorts using this piston, power piston. And when it has longs and long rifles, it never even actuates that. But now the problem with this rifle was that the shorts and the longs were nowhere near as popular. So a lot of people would just use long rifles just exclusively. Just for years and years, all they would shoot is long rifles. And they're cleaning it like they clean any other regular gun. They clean out the receiver. They run a patch and with the rod down the barrel. And they're thinking that that's all they need to do, like any other barrel. But inside these gaps here, gases and powder would still collect and get in there, and it would kind of, and back on this side of it, the bolt side, and it would just weld this thing into place with all the dried up powders. It would just be frozen. And then if you used shorts, the gases would not get behind it and be able to push and have it move. So it would show that it really was necessary to have that power piston, because the case pushing on the bolt was not enough to get it to cycle. So supposedly the health of this thing, the health of your power piston, is how weak can the round be and still cycle the action. You know, if you could use CB caps or CCI quiet ammo and stuff like that, then you're really doing well. And if it's like in so-so condition, you could use like shorts, but like, the high velocity shorts, stuff like that. I have yet to take it to the range, but when I do, I'm going to try all different kinds. But I'll tell you, I cleaned out that piston in there, that power piston thing. It's all nice and clean in there. It moves nice and smooth, so it should do really well. So that's the story with it, basically. I appreciate the Bill Ward book here to be able to illustrate exactly what was going on. And so that should be the last time that we're delving into this guy on the table here. Next time we should see this rifle functioning should be at the range. And sorry, but with this thing definitely need a new camera. If anything, a new phone, but definitely need a new camera. But sorry that this held us up on a couple of things. The Beretta stuff kind of took a back seat to. I thought this was just going to be some kind of like 1, 2, 3. Hey, just on a whim, I bought a $125 22, and turned into a Carbine Williams rabbit hole. But it's fun so far. So just reading these Carbine Williams patents. This guy supposedly was a real tough guy to get along with, and he had some kind of problems with dealing with people. Doing it again. So he ended up supposedly in jail for manslaughter. Seems like he was a little nutty, but he had a very brilliant mind for designing stuff. Probably all these guys were a little crazy. These like guys that had this really gifted mind to designing, and I bet you if you spend like a couple hours at Browning's workshop, the guy's like my hero. But I bet you if I spent a couple hours alone in that workshop with him, he'd kind of make me feel like, okay, John, thanks a lot. I got a couple of things to take care of. I'll let myself out, and I'll see you soon. Kind of got that feeling that that's how I would. That's kind of like how I would feel after a while. But that's that. So I'm gonna come back with. I want to do a video explaining the YouTube monetization and the sponsorship thing. By the way, that's with realisticsnapcaps.com. You can check out the stuff that they offer. They're awesome snap caps. You've seen them in my videos. Use coupon code MilsurpGarage, MILSURPGARAGE, for 10% off. They offer free shipping, and their snap caps are second to none. Check them out. And I want to also explain that sponsorship. So I'm going to do that in a video coming up soon. And we got to get these Berettas on the table, man. This is ridiculous. Listen, I think I got some time coming up this weekend, so don't worry. Video tomorrow, a couple on the weekend. Get all of this accomplished. And I got to stop the shaky camera. I'll straighten that out too. See you all soon.